All right, Michelle Fox here. Let's talk about Facebook ads in 2021. There's a lot going on, a lot of updates, and there's also also this interesting context of politics, data wars, lawsuits, and we all need to figure out how we can thrive as authors. And so I hope to give you a really good understanding of the context of what's happening, the potentials down the road, how you can respond today, and what you need to prepare so that you're ready for the next phase of all of this. So lots going on. My dog is scratching her chin. I don't know if you can hear that. And I actually have some green tea here, so you might hear me stirring this as I drink and talk. And apparently I like to drink and talk, at least tea. So the context of the coming changes are versus standard operating procedure. So the world is changing, and that is trickling down. The one time trickle down economics works, it is trickling down into our day-to-day business environment as authors. So I did want to kind of try to briefly go through some of current events and international politics and sort of talk about it, because maybe you haven't noticed that. And it's weird to think that things on the global stage are directly impacting us, but they are. I mean, usually the cause and effect isn't quite such a direct line, but in this case it is. So on the geopolitical side, we have the rise of cyber warfare. We have all of this conflict between Russia and the US, Russia and China, China and the US, Iran, all of this plus data. Data is the new industrial revolution. So it's magnifying and amplifying all of this conflict in ways that we couldn't previously do. So we have all these innovations going on in data. Then there's lawsuits because there's no legal regulation of social media, so there's no precedent. So now you have all these lawsuits, antitrust lawsuits, consumer lawsuits, lawsuit. And that's causing Facebook to react and make changes. And then you have privacy advocacy, or at least a veneer of people pretending they care about privacy. And that also is in the mix. And plus you have consumer rights organizations that legitimately want privacy pushing. But they're not the ones who have the most power here. So I'm sort of discounting them. So when we say SOP, when I say the world context is bumping up against SOP and forcing it to change, what do I mean by standard operating procedure? Specifically with Facebook ads, what I mean is the standard operating procedure has been drop shippers. The ideal advertising customer, the ideal user of the advertising interface on Facebook is not an author. The avatar is a drop shipper. It's some Joe Schmo who is making backpacks in China, owns his own website with his own self-hosted e-commerce and checkout system, and he's drop shipping stuff all over the world that he's making and importing and exporting. And so a lot of the capability that Facebook designed for ads is with that user in mind. It is not authors. Authors are alternative users. And it does in this situation with the iOS14 update, which I'll get to in a second. That's my husband. I'm hanging up on him just for you guys. But in the situation with the iOS14 update, authors kind of come out ahead because we're not using Facebook ads like Facebook thought people would use them. We're very much alternative users, and we sort of hacked the system to work for us. So we're different, and that's going to be good for us. But let's talk a little bit more about data. There was a good piece on 60 Minutes talking about China's efforts to lead the world in data and to own all of our health data and use it to, I'm not really clear on how, that's the alarm for my daughter.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, phone stop. Sorry, guys. I think that's the last of it. But China wants to be a global leader in data, and they want to own a bunch of data. And they're not, there's friction. And a lot of the friction, a lot of the muscle flexing that goes into geopolitics has moved into a cyber front. So the world of social media, the world of data is now the battleground, and our ads are operating in this international battleground. It's really strange. But this guy they were interviewing, it was a good interview. You should watch it. First of all, China has already hacked the personal information of approximately 80% of American adults. They've got our social security numbers. They've got our addresses. They have our credit card numbers. They're just sitting on it. The other thing he said is data is the new oil. Data is the new winning lottery ticket. Whoever has the most data, has the most money, has the most power, wins. So you now want to monopolize data. If you look at the game Monopoly, right, which was trying to sort of show the real estate market, use that as a metaphor for data. Now you want to own data. So a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, the superficial level, the PR level, is about making consumers feel good and about making the company look good. And so when they talk to us about privacy, it sounds good, but that's not totally what's happening behind the scenes. The New York Times had a really good article. It was long. It was complex. I recommend it. Just, have a good snack and a glass of wine or tea or cup of coffee as I stir my green tea here, to read it. And this article talked about data coup, that we are experiencing a coup of data. Very interesting article. Definitely going to have implications for our business environment. The new cyber attack is already underway. This is from the New Yorker. This is all from the last 2 weeks. Talking about hackers and governments and agencies and the economy of exploits. Like if you can find an error or a backdoor or a weakness in the coding that can be exploited, that's basically money in the bank. You're going to be rich if you find that. So there's this whole economy of finding problems and selling them. It's an interesting world, very interesting reading. It's giving me all sorts of plot bunnies. And this one's a little bit older. A couple of years ago, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook said the future is private. Now, what do they mean by that? They mean that they want consumers to feel like their privacy is respected while still continuing to monetize and profit off of people's data. So let's be real clear-eyed here about the true business agenda. All of these companies use privacy as their call to arms, right? But it's just a PR spin. They want to monetize all of our activity. That is not going to change. So they'll only protect our privacy up to the point where it's profitable for them. Once it becomes onerous and difficult, they're not actually going to be moved to act. The antitrust lawsuit. There's antitrust lawsuits coming for Amazon, for Google. This is going to be a problem because, again, there's no regulation. There's not much legal precedent, and those days are over. The antitrust lawsuits are going to force precedent. I do think that the IOS14 update, specifically with how ads work, I think that's going to pretty much do what the antitrust lawsuits would trigger. I think, I could be wrong, or there could be some other factors I'm not aware of, but I think that we're kind of already doing what needs to be done, and that the antitrust lawsuits won't change necessarily all that much for us, which I think is kind of good news. But the other thing is the antitrust lawsuits are going to take years. So they're not going to immediately impact our operating environment anytime soon. And I do want to clarify, this is not just Facebook. It will be industry-wide. It'll be all of e-commerce. You will not be able to escape this for very long. So while it's good to know how a bunch of different ads platforms work, doing that in order to avoid Facebook and the stuff that's going on with iOS 14, that will not protect you. And what is the iOS 14 update? So basically, Apple has decided that we brand on privacy. Our brand is synonymous with consumer digital privacy. And we want everyone to know that we care deeply about consumer digital privacy. But when data is the new oil, are they really going to collect all that oil, all that money, all that gold, and just sit on it? I'm a little skeptical. I think it's probably more reasonable that Apple realized how profitable tracking was and went, wait a minute, we're not getting a cut. And I've seen other people say the same thing. So let's be cynical for a moment. I think that it's possible, and time will tell, it's possible that the iOS 14 update is because Facebook wouldn't pay Apple to track users. It's possible that they'll work out some kind of data sharing deal down the road. We'll see. Privacy is definitely something that your average consumer on the street cares about. Remains to be seen whether they'll pay enough for it to where it's so profitable that you don't want to sell your data. Maybe Apple thinks it is. Maybe the numbers work. I don't know, but we're definitely going to create a system of have and have nots when it comes to privacy, because I'm not going to spend $5,000 for an iPhone, because I imagine that's where the prices are going to have to eventually go to compensate Apple for not using your privacy to make more money. So I'm a little skeptical of Apple's philanthropic, altruistic intentions. I'm not 100% that it's that nice. And I think it'll be interesting to see how things play out over the next couple of years. But basically, Apple has said to Facebook, stop tracking. Stop tracking people, ask permission, get what's the word I'm looking for? Get buy-in or get approval or permission up front. You can't just track people and not tell them that you're tracking them, which, I think I'm on board with. And the response to iOS 14 has been all of these changes on the ads ecosystem and Facebook that we are going to be seeing this year. I do want to kind of clarify, this primarily hurts drop shippers because it's all primarily directed at the standard operating procedure. So not only do drop shippers manufacture and drop ship their products, or sometimes they even just serve as a storefront and they don't care what they're manufacturing, they're just filtering the sales through as a middleman. They would have their own hosted checkout system where they would be able to track people through the whole sales funnel. And they could use the pixel to differentiate, did someone click and not buy? Did someone click and add to cart and not buy? Did someone click to cart and buy? And they could save those actions in different audiences and group those people together so that if you clicked and didn't do anything, didn't buy anything, they could maybe give you a coupon. If you put it in the cart and didn't finish the transaction, they could give you a coupon. They could target you with an ad to try and get the sale to close. The other thing they did with the pixel, and this was, I think, primarily through the audience network option on Facebook, but there was perhaps some direct uploading of pixels to different apps, is these pixels were spread across all of these apps in the App Store. So every time you or your kid were playing some game, the pixel, was tracking you. If you clicked a link from any app, the pixel could potentially be tracking you. And this ended up being a tremendous source of data for Facebook, because on the individual user side, you only see the people that end up in your personal pixel audience, but Facebook has access to all those audiences and was using those data or that data to formulate and figure out how to target ads and serve ads and all of that. And it made ads really relevant. But now that's sort of being taken away. The nice thing is, again, authors don't really operate that way. So for us, the pain of iOS 14 is going to be relatively limited, but we're still going to see all of the impact of it because it's going to roll out universally. So you're going to see changes in user tracking, changes in data collection and retention, changes in ad reporting, bots dialed up to 1.5 million, changes in advertiser requirements, Now, before I go too far, a couple things. The changes, I don't believe, have been rolled out 100%. And I think there might be some lag overseas in particular. So you may not see all of this stuff yet, but it is coming for you. No one is going to escape this. So if you're seeing something different, it's not an indication of me having bad information or saying something wrong. It's just that it hasn't rolled out yet to you. The other thing is, if you do not have Business Manager, if you are running ads or you're intending to run ads, you need Business Manager. You need to set up Business Manager. That is not optional. Okay? So you need to do that. Oh, this was the best meme I could find for before we dive in, before we go any further, before we start. Let's unpack, or before we unpack. I couldn't find a good meme for that. So I picked the, hey, honey, the bag of evil you ordered is here, because we're going to unpack some stuff that's kind of like, whoa. So just like those eyes in the bag. Let me stir my tea. Like the green tea, you got to like keep stirring it, because otherwise it all sinks to the bottom. All right, changes in user tracking. Apple users are going to be able to opt out of all tracking. This could roll out universally. Some of the changes that Facebook is making globally is because they anticipate they're going to have to do this anyways. So we may see ongoing changes in user tracking, but people can opt out of being tracked for ads. On the Pixel, this one primarily affects the Pixel, which authors primarily do not use. Most of us are not using the Pixel. You do not have to have the Pixel as an author. It does have some utility, but I consider it more of an advanced option. And it's not something I think anybody should focus on until they're sort of at that level of, I really know what I'm doing. But you can only have so many snippets of pixel code now. You can't have infinite. You can't spread your pixel dust all over the internet everywhere. You're only going to have 8 pixel codes. And they're going to change the reporting windows for, if people clicked and people bought. They're not going to track people forever. And they're going to possibly change how long they're retaining some of the data. Right now, Pixel data still says that it retains for 180 days. But I don't know how valuable that is if they're stopping tracking people from different windows of time, which is what they're doing. So there's some funky stuff going on with those audiences. We'll have to see how it shakes out, but definite changes. Long term, because they've lost so much of the tracking they were doing, there is some question of whether it would impact interest targeting, audience sizes. We might see some stuff trickle down, but I don't think it's not going to be huge. And I do want to point out, because I think I forgot to mention this, the percentage of Apple users on Facebook is only 30% of Apple users. It's a chunk, but it's not a huge majority. So might not be as big of a hit as we think. We're going to have to kind of wait and see on some of this. Changes in ad reporting. This is the one where if you don't have this rolled out yet, this is the one you have not seen yet. This is the one that everyone is seeing and is causing a lot of panic. It happened to me and I was like, oh my God. And so I figured all of this out by experiencing it personally and doing a ton of research, because nobody else knew what was going on. And in fact, I believe that this is the only training for authors about IOS14. Literally no one else is doing this. And I've seen a couple of gurus that don't seem to know what's going on. So FYI, you are getting the scoop. So what happens is, I am not a software engineer, okay? I'm a little bit of a Luddite. It sounds like, though, that there's some conversation data sharing or data moving between Apple's interface and Facebook's interface that has to happen for reporting purposes, and Apple is delaying that. So Apple is not feeding Facebook data in real time. There's a 3-day lag. That means, what that means for you, when this rolls out to you and you get hit with the iOS 14 update that's going to hit the ads interface, you'll run your ads and then nothing. It'll be crickets for 3 days. You won't get any clicks. You don't see any reach. You don't even look like you're spending any money for 3 days. You're going to think it's a glitch, but now you know it's not. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Wait and see what happens on day 3 or day 4. This means, too, the learning algorithm for ads is usually 5 days. But actually, what I'm noticing is that the learning algorithm extends. So now it might be up to 10 days in my experience in the testing I've done. It might be up to 10 days before your ad finally settles into a groove. I'm also noticing like a lot of jumpy performance, like I'll get a burst of sales and then nothing. And then I'll get a burst of sales and then nothing. And it's interesting. We'll need more data from authors who have the iOS 14 update rolled out onto their ads interface. And we'll need to compare notes. Is my pattern indicative of an overall pattern in ads, or is it maybe just something going on with my particular ad creative that I've put together in my audience? I don't know. So those are some of the things you're going to see in the ads interface. The bots are hypersensitive. Oh my God. Innocuous, innocent phrases. Sorry, maybe I should repeat that since I was scraping my green tea up from the bottom. Innocuous, innocent phrases and words are being flagged all over the place. So we had hoped that after the election, this stuff would calm down. Nope. It's just going to continue. So some of the stupid things they've done, they flagged the phrase fat quarters, which is a quilting sewing term. They flagged the phrase Bloody Mary in reference to Mary, Queen of Scots, because the only nuance that the bots understand is Bloody Mary means alcohol. And fat means fat people, and you're making fun of fat people. There's no nuance programmed into the bots. This is why I don't worry about AI writing best-selling novels, because there's no nuance in any of this technology. And Facebook has arguably some of the most sophisticated algorithms in the industry. Maybe Amazon's up there, maybe Google, I don't know. But I really, the bots can read pretty well. So it's interesting that there's no nuance programmed into them at all. They don't do anything with context. They don't care about multiple meanings of words. It's if a word can have a bad meaning, then that's all it has for the bots. So you'll get flagged out the wazoo if you don't properly sanitize your ads. The other thing you need to be aware of, this means like if you've run ads in the past couple of years that wouldn't get past the bots today, if they crawl through your account history and they run across those ads, they'll apply their terms of service or their standards today to what they approved and let you do 3 or 4 years ago, and they'll terminate your account. So here's some advice. Have multiple admins that you trust with your life on all of your digital real estate on Facebook. Have a backup plan. If I lose my ad account and I can't get it back, if I can't appeal and I can't get it back, do I have a spouse? Do I have someone who I trust with my life, whose account I can use as an admin on all my digital real estate to run ads? So you need to be prepared for that enforcement, because that's how they all do it. Amazon does the same thing with the Amazon associates. They'll constantly crawl all your activity, and something you did 5 years ago that was perfectly acceptable, that they approved, that they didn't say anything about, they'll flag it based on what they don't allow now, and then they'll terminate your account. So that's kind of a actual thing that needs to change. Maybe someday we'll get like some kind of petition and media coverage on that, because it's not fair to the little guy, and it's not fair that you didn't know, you made some stupid mistake. I mean, when I first started as an author, I made 1,000,001 dumb mistake. We all got stupid stuff we did, and we grow and we do better. And the fact that you're not allowed to be redeemed, that you have no redemption, is kind of not cool, and it's not conducive to supporting small business, particularly when Facebook themselves offered little to no guidance 4 to 5 years ago with their ads. But yeah, so the bots are nuts, and they could totally ruin your day. The one thing I have noticed is on my Facebook page, they'll preemptively and proactively scan text, and they'll remove the boost button if they don't like it. So that's one way to test your text, assuming that this has been rolled out to your page. One way to test your text to see if it's allowed or not. If it gets flagged, you know not to run it as an ad, and it allows you to sort of dip your toe in the water without getting dinged for ad rejection. So if you do this, though, delete the post. Don't leave stuff up on your page that Facebook has removed the boost button from. Okay, that could be held against you down the road, but it's a nice way to test. Changes in advertiser requirements. Facebook wants to know everybody. They want to know. I'm surprised at this point that they don't ask for a DNA test. That I can't. I'm waiting for Zuckerberg to ask me to pee in a cup. It's an invasive verification process, and it's stupid. I'm going to talk to you about it though, because this is what Facebook is doing to say we know who our advertisers are, and we're pretty sure they're legit. but there's problems with it. The very first thing is, at a minimum, set up your two-step account verification. It's easy to do. It's in your privacy settings on your profile. No excuses. No excuses. One of the things you need to recognize about Facebook is they think all the articles they write about how to use their platform are clear and that you've been able to find the information you need. So they don't communicate with you. They just punish you. They just punish you until you figure out, like, oh yeah, I should have two-step verification. Although actually, I will say they will flag you and tell you you have to have two-step verification. But there are times when they won't say anything to you. And you just have to figure out that if I want the pain to stop, I need to do this thing that Facebook wants, but won't tell me. You know, it's like being in a relationship with like the worst passive aggressive person you can think of. It's annoying, but two-step verification. And in fact, you should do this across the board. I mean, everything that I've been reading about cyber warfare, data hacking, all of that stuff, dude, we are in a different world than we were 2 years ago. Or 3 years ago even. Totally different frontier. We're on the frontier of the data age, of the data industrial revolution. Please, for the love of God, two-step verification, or else plan on losing your business. Okay? Other verification possibilities, other trials by fire. Verify your domain, verify your business, verify your personal identity. Expect to have to do one or all of these at one point or another. So we're going to prepare now so you're ready, because there's some groundwork you need to lay. Verifying your domain, super easy. Let me stir my tea here. Sorry for the noise. So it's just like doing the verification for your newsletter. Super easy. You plug in a string of code as a text field into your DNS manager for your website through your site host, or they'll give you, I think, some code to insert into your header of your website. Very easy, very quick. Simple to do. Everyone should do it. Supposedly, per search engine journal, I think it's Search Engine Journal. This does not preclude you from running ads to other links and third parties, which is one of the concerns. That if I verify my author domain, does that lock me in to having to run ads only to that domain? No, it should not. So far, it does not seem to do so. However, I think there's a pretty easy workaround. Like, again, Facebook has a flawed verification process. They only want you to verify one domain. Apparently, in their world, nobody has multiple things. So you can set up another page that doesn't list the verified domain or whatever and run your ads from there. And very easy workaround. You just set up another page and go to town. So there's levels to this. There's the verification level where we're creating things and doing things to make Facebook feel good about us. And then there's the actual operational level, like what anthropologists call ideal culture versus, I think it's real culture is the term. In reality, this is how you're going to operate. So if by chance Facebook were to ever say, well, you verified the domain, all your ads have to go to the domain, you're just going to set up another page, because Facebook only has a system to verify one domain per business manager account. It's kind of a weird oversight. Then you can verify your business. But you're going to need to do some legwork and get some things ready for this. So, and I wouldn't jump into this. Verifying your domain, you're more than likely going to have to do that this year. And I'm hanging up on my husband again. I got to call him because I know he wants to talk to me about something. We're trying to buy an antique sink for the kitchen off Facebook Marketplace, and he's super excited about it. The only thing is the seller is ignoring me, so I don't really know what's going to happen. Anyways, verifying your business, and you're going to have to verify your domain probably this year. You don't need to run out and do it today. What you should do is Google Facebook verify domain, read up on it, and know how it works. Read up on verifying your business with Facebook and know how it works. However, I'm going to tell you better information than what Facebook will give you, because I've been through it and I've been rejected twice. And I don't know if I'm ever going to be accepted. But there's some stuff you got to set up for verifying your business. And hopefully you won't have to. Like, you're going to probably have to verify your domain. Hopefully this will remain optional. But if you can or want or need or have to verify your business, you're going to need an EIN IRS letter that matches the name on your business manager. So I named my business manager Wolfpack. That is not the name of my LLC. Duh. So I went and I changed in my profile. I changed my business manager name so it all matched. Your LLC or S Corp paperwork that you file with the state, you're going to want a copy of that, ideally with your phone number and your address. Some states don't require that, so the paperwork won't include it. I am in one of those states, and it is a huge problem for me in verifying my business with Facebook because they desperately want to see official paperwork with your business name, your address, and your phone number. They're nuts about it. And obviously, business name, address, and phone number that you're giving them should match what's on your account profile, right? You need a domain email. You can't use Gmail, can't use Yahoo. You need an actual domain email. They will not accept your verification request without it. You won't even be able to file it. So, simple to fix. You just purchase it through whoever is hosting your site. Purchase it through whoever is hosting your site. So I think it's Microsoft 360 or Microsoft 365. I pay for that and I get a domain email for Outlook. Very simple to do. You need documentation that shows your name, your business name, your address, your phone number, all in one place, but it's got to be one of the documents that Facebook recognizes, which is the hard part. Ideally, it's on your LLC or S Corp paperwork, but for people like me where the states don't require it, we're kind of SOL. Facebook is super picky about this, you guys, super duper picky. This is going to be the number one problem if you're like me. So consider setting up your utility bill and putting your phone number in the address. Because that's the other thing too, is they'll accept a utility bill, they say. But my utility bills, I don't know about you, my utility bills don't come with my phone number. So I've been actually putting my phone number in my mailing address for my water bill so that I can get mail that'll show my LLC name, the address, and the phone number. Bank statements. My bank statements for my business don't show my phone number. I don't know about you, but they'll accept a bank statement that shows the phone number, but that doesn't exist. Frankly, I photoshopped it in because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make them happy. I don't have documents like that. So far, they haven't rejected, but they haven't accepted my latest effort at verification. So we'll see. Make sure your LLC name is prominently on your website. One of the problems with authors is we set up these LLCs as small presses. So maybe it's Dragon Press or Wolfpack Press, but I'm publishing as like Michelle Fox. And my domain is Michelle Fox, right? Because I sell based on my pseudonym, not my press. And so we have a unique disconnect that's a industry standard that's going to cause all sorts of problems when you try to verify your business with Facebook. So be proactive and get your LLC in big bold letters across the top of your website, and or start a domain just for your LLC, start a page for your LLC, make sure it all matches and verify through that. You could reverse engineer it so that everything matches. We'll see best practices to continue to emerge, but this is all based on my personal firsthand experience. And I don't think anybody else is talking about it yet. So you got the scoop. Also, there's a spot to add your EIN number into your business manager account. Like, go to your business manager profile, fill out everything, make sure it matches across the board with your LLC paperwork. Okay. So odds are that you will have to verify your domain. Odds are lower that you're going to have to verify your business. And then odds are even lower that you're going to have to verify your personal identity. But in some cases, some of us are going to get flagged and have to send in our driver's license. So you need to kind of go through the grieving process of understanding that you're going to lose the author personal newsfeed, that you're going to have to change it to reflect the name that's on your driver's license and send in your driver's license. And hopefully you can change it after, but you need to accept that you're not going to operate necessarily through your personal profile as an author anymore, that you could lose that as part of this verification push. I don't think it's a big deal. You can join pages as you can join groups as your page. So you can use your page as your identity in many places across Facebook. I don't think it's a huge issue. If you're old school, like I started Facebook a long time ago, back when we did a lot of business stuff through our personal newsfeed, which by the way is against the terms of service. You shouldn't be doing it and you have to be real careful with that. Some of us are kind of in that old school camp and it might be a little more painful for us, but now's a really good time to direct people to your page and tell them follow on my page, because remember, likes are going away. It's going to be follows. So tell people to go follow you on your page. Tell them that you may lose this personal newsfeed option as a way to connect with readers, and prepare people for that and tell them to move on. Again, most of us will not deal with this, but some of us will get flagged. So be prepared for it. The other possible impact is, it could raise costs. So the dropshipper business model, the way that they interacted with Facebook ads and utilized Facebook ads has kind of been severely limited, and a lot of capability and functionality has sort of disappeared. So that's going to be pushing them into the way that authors use ads and the way that we market. And so may see some increased competition. We may see some increased costs in addition to some smaller audiences. The audience sizes will probably decrease at least a little bit. So that's another possible impact. So what should authors do? So here's my thought. If you're a full-time author, you make a living doing this and you rely on ads, continue to operate. Just build up your rainy day fund and be a little conservative. It is a good time to diversify and develop expertise in other ad platforms. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm trying to develop some expertise in different ad platforms. Again, all of this is going to roll out universally, though. It's all going to impact e-commerce. So it's Amazon ads, Barnes and Noble ads, BookBub ads may all implode shortly too, in short order. But as it stands now, they're operating fairly normally. And it's Facebook that's having most of the changes because all of the attention is on Facebook. Facebook is not the only company tracking everybody. Google tracks, Apple tracks, everybody, even Apple tracks. Everybody's tracking everybody. Facebook's just getting all the heat. And so that has allowed everyone else to sort of operate as normal while they kind of watch to see what Facebook does and how they respond and how well it goes. So now's a good time to develop expertise in other ad platforms and be a little financially conservative. Like I said, the ad lag, the reporting lag seems to also correlate to lags in ad performance. So you may find that it's going to take a while to figure out how to make ads or how to optimize your ads with all of these changes. And so you could take a little bit of a hit to your return on your ads. But I wouldn't be afraid of running ads. I think this video will really help you understand what's going on and how to respond to it. So I think you'll be okay and continue to write. But I do want you to be a little financially conservative, build up your business rainy day fund, maybe hold off on some of your bigger releases for a little bit until we get a better feel for the lay of the land and how things are operating. Because you certainly don't want to have a major release and run afoul of all of this stuff, right? And there is some potential for this to end up being like quicksand for you. For authors who aren't heavily using ads yet and you're at the beginning of that journey, keep your spends low. Nobody should be going into debt for Facebook ads right now. If you've been going into debt for Facebook ads and you're using a credit card, get that stuff paid off. Watch your numbers really closely. But newer people, newer to ads authors, write a few more books. Don't be in such a rush to jump into ads. Definitely do the training that I offer for free in the Wolfpack Promotions group. I am going to reshoot your first Facebook ad training. I'll reshoot that for 2021 and update it. The notes have been updated a couple times. I'll probably continue to update those, but you can read those now and they're updated. So digital marketing isn't disappearing. This is not the apocalypse. This is not the end of times, but things are changing. And so while the ground is shaking under your feet, maybe you want to do some different strategies until things settle down. So yes, ads can work and they can sell and they can be profitable. I do have that going. It's just a little different and a little laggy and jumpy. It's a little weird, but it is working. Change is inevitable, and I really encourage you to see disruption as opportunity. The thing that I like about disruption is when all the rules change, the people at the top of the pyramid are destabilized too. So for those of us who are not super, what's the word I'm looking for? Like for people who aren't at the top of the advertising game, or we've been locked out by people who run it better than us, you now have opening to go in and get somewhere, because the people at the top are trying to figure out the same stuff that you are. And if you master it first, you can do better and you can outcompete those guys. So there's openings. There's chinks in the armor that where you can actually make some inroads, whereas before you couldn't. So disruption is actually, it favors the little guy who is savvy. And so don't dismiss the opportunity of disruption. Don't get negative about digital marketing. Digital marketing is a chaotic business environment. We have short, vicious business cycles. These are not going to be century-old companies. It's not going to be a Sears or a Sherwin-Williams. Some of these companies have been operating for over 150 years. They have very stable business models. That is by definition the opposite of technology. Technology is a whole different world. Big data is a whole different world. And the fact that data and social media is all tied up in geopolitics and vulnerable to geopolitics is making things actually even harder. So you can't get negative. It's just the nature of the beast. Don't hate the game. Don't hate the player. Just play the game better. If you want more, I am going to be teaching Facebook ads, the paid class in March. So the paid class is really for people, if you do the first Facebook ad training, some people can take that and go, and they don't really need anything else. I mean, I really do try to give you everything you need to be successful. The paid training is if you want to kind of look at different strategies, if you want to refine your ads, work on optimizing your ads. It's also for people who can't get to profitability. So if you did the first Facebook ad training and it was terrible, you need to take the paid ads training, because that's where we figure out how to fix it. And then the Author Smarter Bootcamp, if you haven't read that, go read that. It's a free download. The link is in the Wolfpack Promotions group in the pinned announcement post. All of the trainings are in the announcement post in the Wolfpack Promotions group, and you should avail yourself of them, because I work really hard to provide good quality information. No author is shut out of the secrets. I provide all of the basic beginner, even into some of the intermediate level stuff. All of that's available for free in Wolfpack Promotions. And nobody, like I said, nobody else is offering this IOS14 training. And I hope you kind of see the value of what I provided. So please use all the resources I give you, because they should take you somewhere. So let me know your experiences with iOS 14 and your ads. It'd be good to get an idea of how things are performing for everybody. And I hope you found this helpful. Thank you.